Aloha folks, and welcome to today's video. Here we are. I am in my new place of establishment. I've got my tiger on the wall. You can see it's a little different. We got a window over here now. So hello, it's the full moon in Pisces. Where are you in regards to that intention that you may have set 6 months ago? 6 months ago, I was heading to Hawaii for a meditation retreat. Gosh, I sure did want to move to Hawaii. I still would love it if that type of opportunity came across my path. But hey, it's a mutable sign. It's about things changing and adaptability. And here I am in my new space, not what I was thinking 6 months ago. I was thinking palm trees and ocean, and we'll see what happens. A lot of things have happened, and that's kind of the message of mutable signs, be it Pisces, Virgo, even Gemini and Sagittarius, is that things need to change. Things need to be adaptable. Things need to be flexible, and you still need to be able to pick up and carry on no matter what gets thrown at you. So that's a simple thing we could say about all the mutable signs, and Pisces in particular being the water mutable sign. It's about intuition. So your intuition about what things actually go together, has life shown you otherwise, is a good question. So I want to talk about this interesting transit that we have going on about the same time as this full moon. And what it does is the full moon is going to light this transit up. They're not making aspects to each other, the moon and the transit, but this is a 4-planet configuration. And the thing about planets is, right, you have one. When you have one planet or a single number, you can't do very much with it because there's no context. You've just got a single digit. When you have 2, right, the saying is it takes 2 to tango. So your math teacher can say 1 + 1 = 2. 2 and 2 is 4. 2 and 3 is 5. But there's no pattern. Okay, there's definitely tango happening, a dance is happening, but it doesn't become a force that must be reckoned with until we have 3, because 3 makes a pattern, 3 makes a set, and 3 implies a rhythm. So again, go back to math class. The teacher says, here are 3 numbers. It's your goal. It's a part of the math problem to figure out what the 4th number in the set happens to be. So if somebody gives you, say, 112, and they say, all right, what's the 3rd number going to be? I would say, well, 1, 1, 2. 1 and 1 = 2. And 2 and 1 = 3. So that's 1, 1, 2. Then the next number being 3. That's actually an exponential sequence right there. But someone could give you this other set of 3 numbers, 2, 4, 6. Then the next number would be 8. Okay, so you see how this pattern, and then if you think about a different part of math class, when you take those numbers and you graph them, then when you start graphing numbers, you can start getting waves. Okay, so when I look at charts, I actually imagine sine waves flowing through the chart. So I see that here. There's like this big wave here. Okay, we've got Mercury, Pluto, Jupiter, and Neptune. They're not making a very pretty looking shape here, okay? And it's not very symmetrical. But we've got 4 planets all making an interesting transit. So we have Jupiter making a trine to Mercury, who's making a square to Pluto, who's making a sextile to Neptune, who's actually making a quincunx back to Mercury. But the quincunx doesn't show up on the system, and that's fine, because the quincunx can be challenging to interpret. And the reason is because the quincunx indicates challenge, okay? Because they can't see each other. And I'm not going to explain that. It has to do with the classical aspects, but it makes sense. And way that quincunxes show up in people's lives is consistent. It's a challenging aspect. And it's not challenging in the sense of a square where there's a tension to act. Why is it a tension to act? Well, one, it is. And two, we explain that because Mars rules square aspects, and Mars is about action and achievement. So when you see a square like this, it indicates that there is action happening because the two planets are attempting to achieve something together. Pluto and Mercury are attempting to achieve something. And so Pluto and Mercury in this configuration, if you were to take them by themselves, right? Two to tango, the tango between just Mercury and Pluto in this square here is this obsessive need to think about something. Okay, it's just right here is this obsessive need to think about something in order to achieve something. And what is that something? Well, that's something that they're trying to achieve likely has to do with this ease that is going on here. Mercury is also associated with the left brain and Jupiter, the right brain. So it's really showing how the two hemispheres of the brain are having this opportunity to work together, that the logical processes of Mercury and what Mercury is trying to notice are ultimately bigger picture things. That's Jupiter right here. Mercury is trying to obsess over what it's thinking about in a bigger picture, because ultimately what's trying to be manifest is this Neptunian energy. See, we've had these are outer planets, so they move so slow. Pluto and Neptune, they're moving so slow. They've been in a trine together, or pardon, sextile. They've been in a sextile. It's been so easy for people to obsess over what they think is really right. Okay, I know Jupiter is all about justice, but Neptune is this like higher ideals and higher consciousness, and this like, you can use Neptune almost like Neptune is trying to bring this a perfection almost. There's like, well, you could say that because the sun's influence in Virgo recently, but more like, you know, when someone is really Neptunian, it's like, oh, you're so dreamy. You have these ideals that would never work in the real world. That's what somebody would say to somebody who's like way too far gone in Neptune. So Neptune Pluto is the humanity's been obsessing over trying to bring higher ideals. What higher ideals? Well, which higher ideals depends on the individual. That's why Neptune is neither good nor bad. Some people take Neptune and they happen to ground it really well. Other people, well, I mean, Neptune's in Pisces even now, and Pisces isn't really a well-grounded sign. So yeah. But what the quincunx is indicating is this challenge, you know, the mind, conscious mind, the part that we use to notice things, it can't actually see those higher ideals, and it's being forced to go in that direction. That's part of the quincunx. The quincunx is you're forcing these two elements to work together, even though they can't see each other. And it's that force of pushing these two things together that pushes into growth. It creates growth. So you could say, because Mercury is a personal planet and we kind of see from Mercury, you could say that the conscious mind, what we're trying to notice, we're obsessing over things because ultimately we want to have something bigger. We want to create something bigger. We want what's going on in the world to work better, but we can't actually see the ideals. Like, we're so obsessed over the ideals. We're so obsessed with making things work on a big scale, but we don't even see these ideals that we're working with. And it's almost like, to me, considering that Pisces and the moon, I mean, that's considering that Neptune and the moon are in Pisces. It's like, do we even see the Piscean ideals that we're working with that we need to change so that we can move into Aquarius? Like, can we even see these Piscean ideals? Like, do we have a grip on what they are? Because until we recognize the grip on them that we have, we can't let go. You know, that's something that's talked a lot about in the healing circles, is how important it is to let things go. And a lot of times in the beginning, people are like, I don't have anything to let go of. That's me. It's not separate. I can't let go of that. That thing there is me. And that's the thing, is folks don't recognize that the things that they identify as themselves, they might not actually be a part of themselves, and they're gripping it so tightly, and their grip is locked so hard that they can't even tell they're holding on to it. So what are these Piscean ideals that we are holding on to, that we can't see, that we haven't been able to even notice we're holding on to? How can we notice them? We have to start observing the things that we obsess over, because the things that we obsess over right now have everything to do with those ideals. And if we can notice what we actually obsess over, then, and I say actually because we've got Pluto in Capricorn. There are the things that we think we obsess over, and then there are the things that we actually obsess over. So that is what this is, the challenge. Like, can you discipline yourself enough to be able to see what you actually obsess over? Because if you can do that, then you can begin to figure out what those ideals are that you're actually working towards. And then once you figure out what those are, at that point, you have the ability to change them. That's Pluto. Pluto gives you the opportunity to change things, but you have to notice them. Why is it so important to notice them? Mercury. Okay, that's a challenging one. We've got some major things going on in the sky. The inner workings of what humanity is experiencing right now. It's a bit of a knot that I'm working on right now, and I'm working on, now that I have my space better established, planning on getting a presentation about the solar plexus and human design out to you guys. So we'll see how that goes. And in the meantime, I would just say, keep a close eye on your obsessions, because your obsessions, what you do all the time, indicates the values that you're actually trying to bring into the world. And if you can somehow discipline yourself to notice these things, you're going to start realizing what you're actually bringing into the world on an intuitive level. And then you can change them, because you can't change something you're not even aware of. Thanks, guys. Toodles.